Okay, so let's see the practical application we are going to develop now.
So department main form, right? So department number, let's search by department number 10, right? Search. Awesome. See, it's filling it, guys. It's filling it. Let's clear. Let's search with the department which I have not put. Department number 90 I haven't put, right? Awesome, guys. It's working. No department found. Wonderful, wonderful, great, great. You should be really happy now, right? You are learning a lot of things from this channel, right? So we went through all the layers. So when I put 10 and say search, I'm going through all the layers. Starting from the view, we will connect to the controller will connect to the model, and then use the classes. So in other words, view will connect to the controller, then the controller will connect to the logic will connect to the DAO, then the DAO will connect to the adapter and get the data, or not, if not, get the null data, whatever it is returned. Then fill the entity object. The DAO will fill the entity object and return the entity object to the entity object or the domain object, whatever you call it, to the logic, and the logic sends it to the controller, and controller decides where to redirect, or in this case just send the data in a wrapped in a DTO, data transfer object, and send it to the view, and then the view displays what is coming.
Okay, so let's continue to develop this application now.
Use a class with whatever the attribute. Same, I'm going to create the department entity class, right? So add a class, right? Just the department class, which is the entity class. And as you all know by now, we have the int department number, string department name, string say department location. Okay, so if you notice here, I have put capital S and here I put simple s, and the colors are different. Capital S, when I put it, it's this color which represent a class. So if I move, it's a class. But same, even if I bring it here, it's representing class, right? So uh, it's like a synonym, right? It's like a synonym for the class, right? So int, it's for primitive, and this is a synonym, so either one is referring to the same, right? But if I'm doing it with, say, further understanding, I might say capital S here, so that doesn't matter, both are the same, both will represent the same, right? Okay, right. Good, good, good. Right. Okay, cool. So string department name, department location, all good. Department number, department name, department location. So then I'm going to generate the getters and the setters. Okay, and I would like to make it public class, because I will need it to be used by the logic class. But still both are in the same. Let's see what we did for the user, because yeah, doesn't matter. So you know about this stuff, right? So department, right? So what I want is basically from the department interface, right? I want, when I say get department by department, I want it to return a department object, right? That's the plan, right? I want it to return a department object. So then this is what the DAO, right? So the department DAO, right? Department DAO is going to implement this for me. Okay, my friends, we are moving good. We are moving fast. We are moving good. Let's see. So I department DAO, where is it? Okay, and the department DAO implementation, all good. So if I move my mouse, it says not all called paths return a value, which means it's expected to return a value, right? So I will start by returning null, but I will have to make sure that I return the relevant department object, right? So now what should I do is I have to connect to uh, the department table adapter, right? Right, and call this, right? So the same line, right? This one, isn't it, right? And then from this object, yeah. Okay, my friends, then you call that method what? Get department by department number. Awesome, awesome, right? And return the department number. What does it return, this method, right? So you remember the previous lesson as well, right? If you want, you can have a look at expand the department data set and see what it returns, right? From the department table adapter. You remember we did this for the previous lesson, get department, right? So it returns a department dataset dot department table, right? So which means I will have to store it in a department dataset department table, my friends. You remember this in the previous lesson, right? Which means obj department data table, right? So I'm getting it, right? So if this department number is correct and if it runs the query properly, I will get a get one row, right, based for the department. But if it's a wrong department number, if I type, right, if I type, I will not get any data, so this will be null, right? That's the same thing we did when we did the user DAO, right? Look at this. If you look at the user DAO implementation, when once I call the get user by the username and password, right? This is the logic we did, right? We looked at the count, right? And we found if the count is 0, well, it gives a count actually, right? So so if the count is 0, then we know it's nothing has been received, so we return a null, right? So I prefer to copy. You remember what I said earlier was, once you do it for one method, as developers we tend to copy it and do the minor changes, which because we are in tough deadlines as developers, right? So you know this channel is going to make you developers, and the channel is talking a lot of things about how developers are working, right? So developers are in lot of time constraints, right? So they need things to be done fast. So what they do is, when something is working for them once, they just copy it to the other thing, and basically they just do some minor modifications and make it up and running. So that's how developers work, and that's how they cut down their time. If the data count is 0, I'm returning null, so that this will be null. If not, as you understand by now, I create an object of my entity class, right, the department class, right? And then I had to access, this is how you access, right? From the department data, from the object you get the first row, right? You get the first row. So let me save it, my friends, right? Give me a sec. So then I'm getting error. So it says the namespace, the type or namespace data row couldn't be found, because you remember when we were doing the DAO implementation, user DAO implementation, whenever we want to use the data row, we imported the system.data, because if you look at the data row, right, if you look at from the Microsoft Docs, right, very important. So C# data row, right? If you look at that, so the data row is a class coming from the namespace system.data. So it's very important for you to say that you are using system.data namespace. So in fact, that's what we have done. We did, in fact, that's what we did when we implement the previous exercise, right? So same in the user DAO, same in the department DAO. I'm going to go and say that I'm going to use the system.data namespace. So that error went off, right? Awesome, awesome. So then I would like to call it as selected department, right, in my data row. So you remember we explained. So if you can't understand this, look at the previous lesson 5b, right, where we explained this, right? So selected department, right, selected department, what's it? Now this comes from the database, so I need to check what the table, department table, what are the data. So it's DEPT number, so I have to make sure I put that exactly, simple DEPT number, right? That, because that's what I'm referring here, simple DEPT number, right? So if I look at the user table, see, I have put the same thing, username, password. In this case, it's, be careful, you better, I recommend you to put the same case, right, case sensitive, I recommend you, right? So just to avoid any problems, right? So department number, department name, department location. So now I saw that. So basically get department number, so this should be DPT number, isn't it? Was that there? DPT name, DEPT location. Let's try one more time. Let's look at it. dpt number, dpt name, dpt location, right? Yes, cool, cool, all good, right? So this time it's a department. So what's this? So you remember we have the department number. This should be simple to you now. Then you have the department name in the domain class, and you got the department location in the domain class, right? Awesome, right? And return, it's not obj user, right? I would like to call this as the obj department, right? So obj department, obj department, obj department, and then I return it. So this is how you do that, right? And then I don't have to say return null, because I'm either returning null or the relevant department. So that's done. So then now the DAO class is done. So then just copy that as a DAO department. I will just copy this method and now go to the now the DAO will be called by the logic class, right? So I'm going to the logic class, but before that I would like to see the logic interface of user logic, right? Logic I user logic, right? Yeah, so in that it returns the user. I'm just having look at it, right? So I'm going to my I department logic, right? And I'm so the logic class will call the same method. I assume that it's going to call the same method, and let's do any changes if needed. For the moment, let's say it's returning a department, right, object. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to implement this in the department implementation. Awesome, guys, you are doing awesome tasks with us now, right? Department logic implementation. So you are going to implement it, right? Awesome, awesome. So it should return something, right? So what you will be doing is you'll be once again create. But okay, one thing I forgot something to tell you, something very important, guys, right? Now look at your where is it? No, let's do this, then I will surely tell it to you, right? Let's finish this first, right? Then I will surely tell it to you. So same, I'm going to create object of now the logic will create object of the DAO. Then the DAO will call the then you will call the method in the DAO, right? Get department by department number. Then you know you have to pass the department number. Then you know it returns you a department object, right? So awesome, awesome, right? And I would like to return it, right, directly to the to okay. So I would like to return this to the controller, right? So the controller will get the data, right? So when if the controller get this data, it knows whether it found anything or not, right? So because control is asking for this data, right, isn't it? So now I will go to the department controller, right? Before I go into that, I will copy this method. So in the department controller, before that I will also look at the user controller. It's returning user DTO. I'm just having a look at it, user controller, but we did. Then the I department controller. So for now I will just put this, right? I'll just put this like this, right? But you know one very important thing. Now you are in the controller, and if the controller is returning this as a department, controller returns this to the view. But the department belongs to the model. So in the model view controller, we don't want the view to touch the model. So if the controller is returning something in the model, then this will go to the view, which means the view has to touch this. So I don't like it. We don't like it in MVC. That is why we have this DTO objects, right? Data transfer objects. So which means instead of returning the entity object or the domain object, you return the DTO object, because you define the DTO object here. Because see, the department is defined in the model. Look here, just here, right? See, now if your department controller is returning the department, who will use this? The view. That means the view will have to touch the department. We don't like it, because we don't like the view to touch the model. The view should go through the control. That is where the DTO, data transfer object, comes into picture. So in the department, whatever I want to pass, I will be put into the DTO object. So I will we already have a DTO object because we created one for the previous method. So I'm going to add the extra things here now, right?